Greetings everyone, welcome to another episode of The Professionals You Should Know. This show is about uncovering the journeys of professionals from different industries. And today we have the marvellous orthopedic registrar, Dr. Carlon Fitzpatrick. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's very
pleasure to be here.
Same. So, what is it that you do?
So I'm an orthopedic surgeon in training. So I'm
wow.
an orthopedic registrar.
Okay.
Currently working in the Kent, Surrey, Sussex region.
Right.
So I'm based in Maidstone Hospital, the Maidstone Tunbridge Wells Hospital at the minute.
That's nice.
But live in South London.
Wow.
So that's my
journey.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a bit of a commute. It's not as bad as it can be. Trust me, it's not terrible because it's a massive area to cover. So this hospital, it's okay. It's about 45 minutes. It's not too bad.
You said a registrar. What is a registrar? Because I know I think it's SHO. And what's a registrar?
So a registrar is essentially a senior specialist trainee.
Wow.
So as you come through medicine, you graduate. You've got 2 years of foundation doctors.
Okay,
so they're fresh out of med school, years 1 and 2, and you essentially do a little bit of everything. So you do a bit of medicine, a bit of surgery, maybe GP placement, maybe some psychiatry or something. Then you decide what you basically want to do: GP, surgery, radiology, gynecology, whatever it is. I chose surgery. You then do 2 years of core surgical training where you learn the basics of surgery.
Right. So
and
what does that entail?
So that entails doing a little bit of different types of surgical specialities. So I did general surgery and orthopedics.
So general surgery will be your one,
like bowel surgery mostly.
Okay.
And you learn how to do basic surgery. So you learn how to use instruments, you learn what it's like to be in a theatre and operate, how to do a bit of laparoscopic work. And then you decide like which surgical speciality you want to do.
And you wanted to go
So for me it was orthopedics. Okay. And then, so at that point, you sit your member of the Royal College of Surgeons exams, your MRCS. Okay. You interview and you get put onto, or hopefully get into, the surgical speciality training program, which is for me again orthopedics, and then you become a registrar. So I'm a couple of years into that now, and it's a 6-year training program. So I'm just about to start my third year.
On top of the 6 years So what was your journey from just becoming a registrar? So I'm talking like college and
so
university.
Like from school?
Yeah, from school.
Oh, well, mine was different.
Okay, go ahead. I want to listen to this. Go ahead.
So I didn't take the straight route. I mean, quickly, the straight route would be A-levels. Yeah. Smash your A-levels, get 3 A's like everyone has to. Get into medical school. Right. Then you do your, as I described, foundation. Core, whatever, surgery, medicine, then registrar, whatever that trade. So if it's GP, it's 3-year training program. Okay. Most surgical programs are 6 years. Then you become a consultant. Wow. So that's the normal route. Yeah. I left school. Okay. Didn't get my grades to get into med school. Okay. So I missed my grades at A-level. Then I went to King's College to sit human biology, which is like an anatomy degree. Yeah. Then was that the first year or all 3 years? That was 3 years. So I did a 3-year full BSc. Really? Yeah. Human biology? Why human biology? Is that well, because I wanted to do medicine. Okay. But I was interested in anatomy, so I was thinking, well, what can I do that I would enjoy anyway? Yeah. So I thought that would be a good step to do medicine, because it would be a good degree to have behind me anyway. Yeah. So I did that. Again, didn't learn my lesson. Missed my grades. I got a 2-2. I got a 2-2. My degree is, and I had an offer from UCL to study medicine after doing my undergrad degree. Missed it. But it all makes sense. What I then had to do was take a year. I didn't want to do a master's. Right. I just wasn't interested in doing something purely academic. Yeah. And so I worked for a company called Propaganda, who are a marketing company. They're currently based in Waterloo. Marketing. Yeah, so completely. I mean, at the time it wasn't completely out there because I'd done a bit of face-to-face fundraising. I'd done telesales like throughout university as a side job. Yeah. So I was familiar with sales and that kind of thing. So I got that job. There's even a story to that. I got that job through a TV show I was recruited to randomly while I was face-to-face fundraising. Right. a lady I stopped, gave her my whole pitch about the charity. She said, I'm not interested in charity, but I'm interested in you.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm a Grenada TV producer, and we're making this show called Selling Yourself. And it was a bit like The Apprentice.
Okay. That's
and
cool.
They brought me in to do an episode of that. I ended up coming second on the show. And because it's become a car salesman, which I like cars, but I don't really want to be a car salesman. So it was. I came second on that show, but the judge was the MD of the company Propaganda, and he said, "Look, I quite liked you. Come and, if you need a job, call me." And I needed a job so I ended up working for Propaganda for a year. Did pretty well, won some big accounts, really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's cool.
And in that time, I kind of discovered the option of international medical schools. So I found St George's University,
right,
who would take me with my grades. And
from the
correct, yeah,
human biology.
Yeah. So I ended up applying there, got a scholarship, which made it pretty much cost neutral.
Cool.
And I went to Grenada. So
Grenada?
Yeah, Grenada in the West Indies. So I did 2 years in Grenada.
How was that?
Oh, it's amazing.
I can imagine.
It was amazing.
What's the difference between, because obviously you probably done the training out there and you've done some training here.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between like the lifestyle?
Oh yeah, definitely. Wow. I mean, for me it was great. And I loved it because my family's Caribbean, so my family's Guyanese and Jamaican.
Oh, nice.
And we had got a couple of family friends out there, and there's people I still speak to on the island and stuff. So for me, it was great. I absolutely loved it. The studies was different because it was essentially an American medical school based in the Caribbean. Okay. So you do 2 years there, and then once you've done your preclinical medicine, you can do your clinical rotations. Most people do it in the States. Right, so I split mine between New York and London.
You went into New York?
So I did, I did 2 years there, then lived in New York for a while, and then came back to London. So completely non-conventional.
So when you was doing your rotations, or when you was doing your placement in New York, how was that experience?
It's brilliant. It's quite intense.
Okay.
Because they, just like it was in Grenada, because essentially in 2 years you cover what they cover in med schools here in 3.
Really?
So, although you're on the island and you think you're on the beach every day.
More, would you say it's quite advanced, or is
the level's the same essentially, but the time you have to do it is less. And everyone's a graduate. You have to remember, because medicine's a graduate entry program in the States. There's no undergraduate medical degrees. So everyone is a little bit older.
Right, okay.
And it's very competitive. So a lot of people come in with a master's, some had PhDs, some had been professionals in other things and then come to medicine. So it was a different crowd of people, very motivated. And the way they grade you, they percentile you. So from day one, you know that to get your residency, you have to essentially beat your classmates.
Oh wow, very competitive.
So from day one, it's a competitive environment.
How many classmates did you have then, or how many?
Our year was 300, but it's a national match. So you've got obviously your classmate, and then everyone else that's sitting the exams in your year.
Whoa!
And you're applying to residency programs, and they're selecting you, broadly on your interviews based on your scores, and then obviously how you interview, but. Very competitive.
I can imagine. What, so, you done sales and then...
Well, it took me a while to adjust to it. I didn't expect... I remember just getting there, and the first day, I'm in Grenada, I'm thinking, yes, it's great, I'm going on the beach. And my roommate was studying, like, the week before term. Yeah. He was studying. And I said to him, what are you doing? He said, well, we'll have midterms in 6 weeks, and I want to ace my midterms. Yeah. We haven't even had a lecture yet. So it was a culture shock, it was a culture shock. But it's like, for me, I was like, because students are quite casual here. That's first year. Don't worry. I'll fix it in the third year. But there was none of that at all. So as much as I enjoyed the island, a lot of that time was work. Wow. It was work. Okay. Same when I got to New York. The city was great. Brilliant place to go when you're young and you don't have family and stuff, and great. But again, I want to do surgery, so surgical rotation. Start work at 6, and they expect you as a student to be there at 5:30 to pre-round. So you've got everything set up. If you want to go to theatre, you need to have seen your patients by 6:30. Wow. The only way you can do that is to get there early see everyone, be ready for 6:30. You can go into theatre and do what you want to do. And then you're in there for the whole list and you might not finish till 5, 6.
12 hours?
Daily.
Jeez.
And I was commuting across the city, so I'd leave home at 4:30.
Gee, that's commitment.
And then what I would do, because I like to go to the gym and work out, I'd train on my way home. So then I'd stop in Manhattan, go to the gym, then get my dinner on the way home and carry on, and get home at like 8:30, 9 o'clock and just crash out and do it again. That was, so as much as it was enjoyable, it was really hard graft. So yeah, that's the main difference between here and the States. It's just they expect you, even as a student, it's like 6 o'clock, go. So it was, it was.
So then after you did the 2 years in the Grenada and the mix between the Grenada and New York, is that when you came over here?
Then I came back to finish off my clinical rotations here. Right. So I did some of it in New York, some of it here. Yeah. So when I graduated, I was here. Right. But then of course I ran into another problem because my degree, so when you look at my title, it's MD, right? Not MBBS, which is what the UK grads have. Okay. So because I'd done my American exams, I wasn't GMC pre-registered, which is kind of the standard thing you get when you graduate from here. So I had to go through that process myself, which again, the things you don't realise when you go international, you don't realise you have to get your own dean's letter written, you have to ask for that. Yeah, I had to prove that my course was written in English and I'm competent to practice in English, even though I've got obviously a UK passport, born and raised here. I had to arrange all my exams. I then had to take a conversion exam. So all of that, best will in the world, takes a year. So I knew I had another year where I couldn't go into medical practice. So I took a job with a company called Synthes. Well, it was Synthes at the time. Okay. They're now DePuy Synthes, which is a Johnson & Johnson owned company. Okay. So that transition happened whilst I was there. So I spent 4 years working for them in the end as a trauma sales consultant. So it's kind of where things now started to, at the time all of these things were mishaps, right? Didn't expect to miss my grades. No. Didn't expect to work for propaganda. Didn't expect to go abroad. Didn't expect to come back and not be able to get a job as a doctor. But because I'd done certain things, I'd done a bit of sales, I had a really good track record from propaganda as a solid sales job. And then I managed to get this job with Synthes as a trauma sales consultant, which I would never have got.
What was you selling?
Trauma implants, so plates and screws, nails.
So it's still kind of based on the surgical.
So it's still medical devices. Yeah. And obviously because I have a medical degree at that point, so I was automatically a fairly good candidate. Yeah, you're a good candidate. But because I had a sales background, that was the only reason I got that job. Oh, really? Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to walk into that job. So I ended up staying there for 4 years. Again, did really well. Won national sales awards twice in the 4 years. So grew my territory massively. Cool. Got married in that time period. Bought a house. Nice. So I ended up staying longer than I planned. Right. And then so that took us up to 2014. And then eventually I said, okay, right, I've got to make a choice. Yeah. Am I going to continue in the industry or am I going to go back to medicine? Yeah. And obviously I decided to come back to medicine. Wow, that's a big jump, especially that time as well. Oh, yeah. So that had its own challenges. I then had to do another exam to say that I was clinically competent because I'd been out of practice for so long. Yeah. So then I came back into foundation. Right. And then I started that process, the 2 years, did core training. And then at the end of core training, I applied for orthopedic training and I didn't get that first time. Why? My interview, I probably just did the interview as well as I should have done. Sales guy, that's yours. That's what happened. Well, it's for real. And the way the scoring system works, it doesn't. If you've had time out of medicine, you get penalised a little bit. Of course. So anyway, that's not really an excuse because I got it the year after anyway. But so I had another year. So what were you doing out of it? I worked as a surgical simulation fellow at St Thomas's. Okay. So that's one of the major surgical simulation centres that do training for surgeons, and not just surgeons, but medics in general. So you're still getting your little, getting your experience. Getting experience. I got my PG cert in clinical education that year, and that was the year I co-founded Encode as well. Wow. And to be fair, I would never have done that had I not been able to take a step back from clinical practice. So what's Encode? So Encode Health. Like I said, I co-founded it that year. I was working at the sales centre. And what we do is we track and trace medical devices.
Oh, that's it.
So again, it's where now I reflect on it, all these little mishaps and I would never have been able to do anything like, well, half of what I'm doing now had I not taken these steps, which weren't by choice at the time, but looking back, I wouldn't change it. So because of my experience in the medical devices industry, I understood how procurement works, how supply chain works, how devices get from the point they're manufactured into a hospital, into a patient, like what that process looked like, where the shortfalls are, where the patient safety aspects of that are. And so we, Encode Health was co-founded by, let's say, myself and my business partner, Costas Fantos, who's the CEO, and it was his original idea. And the original thing was for a healthcare passport. So essentially a electronic healthcare records platform that kind of travels with the patient, so you can carry it at any point. And what it still is our dream, kind of, to create it as that can be used as like an emergency relief. So you can get medical information about people that are in underprivileged areas of the world. Because it's one thing to say we're going to treat you, but we don't even know what your history is. Right. So that's still something we really want to do. But off the back of that, there were certain things that changed in the medical devices industry, and one was medical device regulations, which basically says that all devices that are going to impact patients' care, so anything that can be implanted or administer some sort of disease-changing intervention via, has to be tracked down to the patient level, and it has to be digital.
Wow.
So this is medical device regulations, which were meant to come in last year, but it's been delayed. So they're not being enforced now yet, but they are there. So we built our solution around fulfilling those requirements, hence the track and trace platform. And because obviously I understood devices, obviously I'm a medic, so it kind of fit very nicely with what Encode Health does.
So why surgeon? Why did you want to be? What was your story that just solidified that this is the career for you? Why was it?
I think I wasn't that fixed on surgery initially. I mean, I've always wanted to be a doctor.
Why?
To be honest, I never knew when I was younger. It was I just never thought about anything else.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
even my parents probably tell you from like 4 or 5, I want to be a doctor. Never really thought about it. Never really thought about it through school. Never really thought about it even when I was going through university. I was like, no, this is just what I want to do.
Right.
And as I've gotten older and reflected on, I'm now like, well, actually, it's not just to help people, because I do. But really what it is for me, it's about me being able to improve someone's situation. It's be able to look and say, can I empower you to make change in your life for the positive, or can I offer you a solution that improves your situation from where you are? And that's just probably why I'm more inclined for surgery, because I can see the impact of what I do. Whereas medicine doesn't appeal to me quite so much. And also because if you give someone a pharmacological input, it may help them. But equally, I would rather say, is there a lifestyle change? Is there something I can do that can improve your situation for you to change it, not my pharmacological input? So if I fix your fracture, I'm allowed you to do that, right? Or if you're a sportsman and I fix your ACL, you can do that. You can still go and progress in your career, but you're going to do that. So that's what it is for me. And I love interaction. I love talking to people. That's why I like sales. It's the same thing, right? It's you and me. We're talking, and can we come to an agreement? It's the same thing in medicine. It's the same thing in other things I do. So that's why there's a common theme to the things I'm doing outside of medicine.
So what are some of the misconceptions that people have about your professions or your role or something like that?
Oh, what is in surgery in particular?
Yeah, surgeons.
I mean, I think there's always been a perception about certain personality types.
Right.
Certainly with orthopedics. Orthopedics has, you've probably seen those videos on YouTube. Oh, there's a fracture. Where's the fracture? In A&E. It's very kind of one-dimensional. And a lot of other medics will be like, all you guys can diagnose is like, a fracture. It's like, well, actually, that's all you see. And some of the smartest people I've met in medicine are orthopedic surgeons, because a lot of what we do, and it's not just orthopedics, to be fair, but a lot of the skill and the cognition that goes into what we do is in theatre. Yeah, it's very easy to diagnose a fracture on an X-ray. We can all see it. But can you tell me how you're going to piece that back together? Can you tell me the biomechanics behind that? Can you tell me, you know, how choosing one fixation medicine over another is going to affect this patient's rehab? So there's some, you know, some really deep thought that goes into it. And so that's definitely one misconception. I think the days of the alpha male rugby player, although yes, I played loads of rugby, although yes, I've co-founded a couple of companies, maybe I'm stereotyping, but like the days of that are gone. You know, that's just not, that's not it. You know, there's so I think that's definitely a misconception in surgery, that it's you know, it's a rugby playing kind of sportsman's thing and it's very boys club. I think those days are gone. Gone, to be honest. So
what, have you got like loads of like female colleagues that are
yeah, definitely, 100%. Yes, there's quite a few, especially on our rotation. So yeah.
Okay. Alright. So yeah, just to break things up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. These are just generally random questions regarding health. They're going to be closed, so that'd be yes or no.
Okay.
Or it will be a choice.
Okay.
All right, cool. What would you rather perform? A knee arthroscopy or a total hip replacement?
Oh, good question. Probably a knee arthroscopy.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to know why, but that's fine. All right, what would you rather preserve? What muscle would you rather preserve? Glute maximus or quadriceps?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Oh, glute max.
Okay. All right, cool. And there a difference working on a woman or a man?
Operatively?
Operatively. Yes or no?
No.
Okay, cool. So they're best. Nice. Okay. So let's round things up. So in your opinion, where would the healthcare industry be without your profession?
Without medicine?
Yeah, without surgery.
Without surgery?
Yeah, surgeries.
Oh, I don't know, because you can't unlink the two. I mean, if you just strip medicine all the way back, and we complicate things, it's just things get more complex. Even within our speciality. But essentially, what do you need in the hospital?
Yeah.
You need a medic.
Yep.
You need a surgeon.
Yeah.
And you need a radiologist. And I guess you need a lab, so you need a microbiologist. If you break it all down, that's what you need, right? And you can then go within medics, what do you need? Well, you need intensivists, you need blah, 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 blah. But essentially, that's what you need. So without surgery, medicine wouldn't be medicine. So because there are so many things that can only be, well, as our understanding at the moment, within allopathic medicine, by the way, you're only talking about our line of Western medicine. There are other valid forms of medicine, but within what I've been taught, you can't unlink the two. So if you took surgery away, you wouldn't call it, from my understanding, you wouldn't call it medicine. It would be some other form of healthcare that is not recognised as medicine as we know it. So that's where from my understanding, that's where we'd be.
Okay, cool. Nice answer. And do you see your profession progressing in any way at all? As in medicine then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it depends how you define progression.
Okay.
Which again, we get into philosophical questions.
Yeah.
So if you define progression as technological or outcome based on what we consider to be good outcomes, because bearing in mind any study you do, you set your own outcomes. So you define what a positive outcome is. Yeah. So yes, we are. So you can say survival rates have gone up. Mortality has gone down for lots of conditions. Morbidity's gone down on lots of conditions. And our techniques are improving. So within obviously orthopedics, we have robotic surgery, which can standardize outcomes. What
with the robotic surgeries? What are you controlling the robots? Are the robots doing it? Because I've seen some snippets where they get into the stages where robots are now starting to perform surgeries.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, so within orthopedics, most of the robotics is, well, up until now, a lot of it's been navigational systems. So we're relying on computer systems to make our measurements and define our cuts, and then we do them. Although there are now robotic assisted systems to help you do that. So for arthroplasty, for example, it will just make sure that your cuts are where you plan them to be preoperatively. Wow. So it takes away any of the guesswork or judgment.
That's good.
But as far as I'm aware at the moment, anything robotic is controlled by a person. Although I'm sure the technology exists for sort of more automated type surgery, but from what my understanding, from what I'm aware of, there isn't any sort of automated surgery going on, although the technology may well exist. So that's definitely, all those things are definitely advancements I think we can point to and say we've gone forward. The other side would be, well, have we succeeded as a healthcare system in improving well-being? Right. And I consider well-being to be different from your current health state. Okay. Right? Your current health state is, have you got a cold?
Yeah.
Are you nursing any ailment? Your well-being is much more around your mindset, your attitudes, your habits, and things that may well prevent you from getting sick in the future.
So more
and given that all of our numbers are going up, we're treating more patients. You have to say we're not progressing in that. Because surely the aim would be, yes, one, to be more efficient in what you are treating, but actually to get to a point where you need to treat less.
Yeah, prevention.
We're not doing the second thing.
I guess.
Across the board. It's not just us, you probably, everyone's heard on the news about waiting lists for whatever. It's not just us. For whatever surgery you're waiting for. Why is that? Because we're not preventing these disease processes. So of course people still need to get it.
Yeah.
So no, we haven't progressed there. That's so it depends depends what you define as progression.
That's fair enough. And do you think anything is missing then? So you're talking about the prevention. How would you fill that kind of hole or that void, in the sense that things are still not going to where you planned? How would you kind of fill that void, in a sense?
As in, what steps would I take to help people with prevention?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it has to be around how health prevention is, or how promotion is given into the community. And I guess it's where organisations like, I'm involved in British Caribbean Doctors and Dentists Association, and a lot of the work we do is around health promotion. And it's getting into communities that otherwise don't really engage with the healthcare system until you're sick. And Afro-Caribbean community is the classic, right? I mean, it's not just us.
Of course.
But it's the classic example you can look at, where as a community we don't really. It's terrible to brush all, because not everyone's the same.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, there's a lot of people that don't engage with the healthcare system until they need it. And so a lot of the work we're trying to do as BCDD is to make people aware of lifestyle changes and disease processes that you're at risk for if you don't make those changes before it happens. And so how we go about those health promotional bits of work is quite important. And I think, to be fair, on a sort of local government, I think some of them are becoming more aware of it.
Right.
So, we're seeing people approach us to do outreach work and stuff.
And what kind of things will you be doing?
So a lot of it is just getting into community spaces.
Right.
So trying to find people from that community. And a lot of it is around giving that healthcare information.
Such as?
So, for example, diabetes prevention.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Diet and health around diabetes.
Right.
Or making men aware about prostate disease and when to get your screening and what the symptoms are. Making women aware about fibroids and what the symptoms, those types of things. The information's there. It's just, if you don't engage with the healthcare system, then it's not going to get to you, is it? So it's about getting into communities that those diseases affect, and giving them information in a way that they understand, and ideally from someone that they're willing to listen to it from. So that's why it's so important to have representative groups.
I agree.
And that's why that's why we're having this conversation, right? It's so important to have people that represent your community. And so that is the number one thing I would do, is really try and make that a more common thing and give access to that, really.
I completely agree. All right, well, to round up, you're incredible talent, incredible knowledge again. It's really great that you're on our show. And yeah, I would just like to thank you. And all right, so this show is called Professionals You Should Know.
Yeah.
Why should we know you?
Can I give you the honest answer?
Yes, please.
There's no real reason you should know me personally, right? Yeah. Unless you have an interest in the things that I'm doing. So we talked about Encode.
Yeah, Encode, surgery.
Yeah.
You know, a great salesperson as well at that. You know, very knowledgeable, loves to help. So many things.
I mean, so from my own opinion on this is, unless you've got a personal interest in one of the things I'm doing. So I say Encode, Beast in Cosmetics, which we didn't really talk about.
Yes. What is Beast in Cosmetics?
So Beast in Cosmetics is a luxury skincare brand based around, we call it kind of nature's innovations. So we take bee venom as our primary active ingredient, which has loads of health benefits. Really? I mean, it's incredible, the things that you can treat with bee venom or derivatives of. But we've turned that into a skincare product, or a range of skincare products that are aimed at sort of skin rejuvenation, skin health, protection from sun damage, anti-aging, anti-wrinkle, and created a luxury skincare brand. Nice. All natural ingredients, everything's ethically sourced. And so that's just launched. We put up quite a bit of work into that. I've got a team that's
Is it based here? Or
based in the UK. We source the ingredients in the product from Northern Macedonia.
Oh, nice.
But we're UK based in terms of the commercial side and distribution and sales and things like that. So yeah,
and also, sorry, I forgot as well. You was talking about the I think you're a part of NHS
Clinical Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, what is that? Because I looked on that, but I'm not too sure what that is.
So the NHS Clinical Entrepreneurship program is kind of designed for people that have an entrepreneurial streak or some idea or something they want to achieve, but are within the healthcare profession.
Okay, so can anyone do that, or is
initially it was just for doctors, but they've opened it out to all allied healthcare professionals now. Yeah. So it's it used, like I said, it wasn't doctors. Now there's nurses, there's physios.
Oh, really?
There's cool. Lots of different healthcare professionals now. But the whole point of it was that I think there was a slight trend towards people just leaving the NHS.
Right.
And the whole point of this program was to support those business aspirations and those entrepreneurial things, because invariably they're all healthcare based anyway. So they're gonna aid the NHS and public health. But was to keep the talent within the NHS.
Right, I see.
So that was the initial aim. And I think this will be going into year 6 now. So there's over 1,000 clinical entrepreneurs.
Do they give you like grants, or do they just give you kind of like the mentorship?
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things that you can kind of get out what you put in. So from my experience of it, was that yes, you get allocated a mentor.
Oh,
so I've got a fantastic mentor, really experienced. You can call and ask for advice, and it's very, very useful. You know, and if I had to pay for his time, it would be massively expensive. And there's access to key people within the NHS structure, so people within NHS Digital, within NHSX. So access to people that would be difficult to get to. So that's really useful. And there's always sort of promotions to NHS clinical entrepreneurs about sponsorship or accelerators, opportunities to speak and pitch. So just lots of things you wouldn't otherwise perhaps see that you just get a lot of access to, as well as, they run, it's usually monthly pit stops, so that you get tutorials and seminars from, experts in various fields. So you get exposure to a lot of things that you otherwise just wouldn't get.
So once you start it, are you in it for life, or is there like a time period?
Yeah, so it's year on year, but once you're on the program, they give you the option to stay on.
Okay.
So this will be my 2nd year.
Oh wow.
So they give you the option to stay on the program if it's still been beneficial to you.
And is it like a yearly fee that you have to pay, or is it just like you're still here?
No, there's no fee for it.
That's really good.
Yeah, so, I mean it's a great program, to be honest. Yeah, it's so beneficial.
Yeah.
And one of the best things about it is just when we all meet, and that's been the kind of the tragedy this year. We've not met for a year, but when we do all meet, it's just great to everyone's like-minded, everyone's trying to achieve things, and you meet really good people that are trying to do the similar type things to you. So it's nice to bounce ideas off people. Everyone understands your situation because you're all working in medicine or in healthcare and trying to do something else. So it's a nice environment. It's good.
That sounds really good. Yeah, no, when I looked at your profile, I was like, wow, what is this? And everyone should know about it.
It's quite competitive now as well, actually. Because when I applied, it was the same year that I started my registrar training.
Right.
And I think when I applied for orthopedics, it was like 1 in 2 or 1 in 2.1 to get a job, and clinical entrepreneurs was 1 in 10.
Wow.
Yeah, it was completely, it's like 5 times more competitive than getting onto the registrar training program. Yeah.
And is it the same now? Or is it worse?
I'd imagine it will be the same or worse because more people are finding out about it. So.
Well, I found out about it. I might join.
Absolutely, put an application in,
No, man. Well, it was really great to have you here. And for our final question, who's another professional that we should know?
Oh, there's a few people.
If you were to say just one.
Just one.
Yeah. And why?
I'd have to go with my friend Stephen Louis.
Okay.
Who's a barrister in the city.
Nice.
And we went to undergrad together, and I met him because he was my next door neighbour in undergrad. But he's inspirational. So he's Jamaican raised, came. So he had some of his childhood here, and then did the rest of his schooling here. Studied law. Like me, his career pathway wasn't completely straight. Wow. So he took various different jobs before getting his partnership in his practice now, and he's very good at what he does, and he's very successful. And he takes a lot of time to give back to the community. You know, he gives talks in universities, in schools, and he's talented. You know, he's like a professional level swimmer. So he's definitely somebody that you should know.
All right, thank you for joining us for another episode of The Professional You Should Know, and hope to see you soon.